Hello, my dear friends. Today I'm talking about Decans of Gemini. There are three decans: Jupiter, the philosopher, Mars, the fighter, and Sun, the solar messenger. The first decan is ruled by Jupiter. This is the big-minded Gemini, not just curious, but philosophically hungry. Jupiter expands Mercury's vast mind into realms of meaning, beliefs, truth, and global perspective. Which are the traits? Loves learning across cultures and ideologies. Have an approach of a big picture thinker, natural teacher, guide, or storyteller. Attracted to travel, foreign languages, higher education. They should search for truth, wisdom, and meaning through ideas. But they should take care of not becoming scattered among too many beliefs at once. Let's see how the planets are working in this decan that is ruled by Jupiter between 0 degrees and 10 degrees in Gemini. Jupiter and Gemini expands the mind, curiosity, learning, and communication. In this decan, knowledge is gathered quickly, broadly, enthusiastically, and great enthusiasm. There is a strong desire to explore ideas, cultures, languages, and perspectives. Teaching, writing, media, education, and travel-related fields are highly favored. The challenge here is dispersion, knowing a little about many things, but risking superficiality if focus is not cultivated. Mercury in Gemini. Mercury rules Gemini, so here it operates with mental speed, adaptability, and sharp-oriented. The mind seeks meaning beyond facts, connecting information into larger systems of thoughts. Communication is persuasive, witty, and inspiring, although sometimes exaggerated. Sun in Gemini. The Sun expresses identity through intellect, dialogue, and curiosity. In the Jupiter decan, self-confidence grows through knowledge, teaching, and sharing ideas. The native feels alive when learning, explaining, and exchanging perspectives. Public visibility can come through speaking, social media, education, or publishing. Moon in Gemini. The moon here is emotionally curious and mentally restless. Feelings are proceed through talking, writing, and exchanging information. Emotional security comes from movement, social interaction, and intellectual stimulation. In Jupiter's decan, the moon seeks emotional meaning through philosophy and belief systems. Venus in Gemini expresses love through conversation, humor, and intellectual attraction. In this decan, relationships thrive on shared ideas, travel, learning together, and playful communication. There is charm, flirtation, and light, youthful quality in affection. Mars in Gemini acts through words, intellect, and multitasking. Energy is mental rather than physical. In Jupiter's decan, Mars fights for ideas, beliefs, and visions. Debate, activism, persuasion, and media battles are common outlets. Saturn in Gemini brings discipline to the mind. Thinking becomes structured, focused, and strategic. There may be serious lessons around communication fears, education delays, or the responsibility of speaking through with clarity. Uranus in Gemini produces brilliant, unconventional ideas and sudden mental breakthroughs. Innovation in technology, media, and networking is emphasized. The mind rebels against outdated belief systems. Neptune in Gemini inspires imaginal thinking, poetic speech, and spiritual concept. There is intuitive intelligence, but also the risk of confusion, misinformation, or idealized thinking. Pluto in Gemini transforms the way the mind works. Words become powerful tools of influence. Deep psychological insight, investigative thinking, and transformative ideas emerge. Lunar nodes. North Node in Gemini pushes toward learning, listening, and adaptability, while South Node in Sagittarius shows past tendencies toward rigid beliefs or dogmatism. Growth comes through curiosity and dialogue. Ascendant in Gemini projects youthful, lively, talkative, and mentally agile energy. Life is approached through curiosity and movement. Descendant in Gemini partners tend to be intellectual, communicative, and mentally stimulating, teaching flexibility and open-minded. Midheaven in Gemini. Career and public image revolve around communication, media, education, writing, teaching, and networking. Imum Coeli, I see in Gemini. Home life is mentally active, talkative, and changeable, often marked by movement or multiple environments. Lot of Fortune in Gemini. Luck appears through communication, networking, writing, education, and intellectual flexibility. Opportunities come through ideas and connections. The second decan of Gemini is ruled by Mars, between 10 degrees and 20 degrees. Now Gemini's words become weapons. Mars adds fire, conflict, courage, and confrontation. This is the debater, the polemist, the activist. The main traits are sharp tongue and sharp mind, courage to speak, competitive thinker, mentally aggressive under stress. They should learn how to fight intelligently, not destructively, and to manage impulsive speech and mental burnout. Let's see how the planets are working in this decan of Mars in Gemini. Mars in Gemini expresses action through words, ideas, debate, and movement. This is mental combat energy, quick reactions, sharp arguments. In this decan, courage is shown through speech, confrontation via logic, and bold communication. There is tremendous agility, multitasking ability, and drive to stay mentally stimulated. The challenge is scattered effort, burnout, or verbal aggression. Mercury in Gemini, as a ruler, becomes even faster, sharper, and more competitive under Mars influence. The mind is alert, tactical, and highly reactive. Decisions are quick, sometimes impulsive, and communication can be cutting when provoked. This is a brilliant placement for strategists, debaters, journalists, and digital entrepreneurs. Sun in Gemini. The Sun here expresses identity through mental strength, courage in expression, and leadership through ideas. The native wants to be heard, noticed, and recognized for intellectual bravery. Confidence grows through speaking up, initiating conversations, and standing their ground verbally. Moon in Gemini becomes restless, reactive, and mentally driven. Feelings change quickly and are often triggered by words. Emotional security comes from stimulation, motion, and active interaction. There can be emotional impulsivity or nervous tension if the mind is overstimulated. Venus in Gemini expresses passion through playful challenge and verbal chemistry. Attraction is sparked by witty exchanges, teasing, and intellectual tension. Love thrives on excitement, variety, and spirited communication. Conflict and flirting often blend together. Jupiter in Gemini expands bold thinking, persuasive speech, and ambitious ideas. The native might become a powerful motivator through words, teaching, selling, or inspiring action through communication. Over-promising or exaggeration must be monitored. Saturn at Gemini adds mental discipline and strategic restraint. It teaches when to speak and when to stay silent. There may be lessons around controlling impulsive speech or maturing intellectually. Uranus in Gemini creates quick flashes of genius, rebellious ideas, and radical options. The native challenges mental norms and communicates in surprising ways. Neptune in Gemini adds imaginative speech, poet anger, or inspired debate, but also confusion or deceptive communication if integrity is lacking. Pluto in Gemini sharpens verbal power and psychological influence. Words can heal or destroy. Deep transformative conversations shape life direction. Lunar nodes. North Node in Gemini demands active communication and learning, while South Node in Sagittarius warns against dogmatic speech or moral superiority. Ascendant in Gemini projects bold speech, nervous energy, and sharp intelligence. Others feel the fast mental current immediately. Decans in Gemini. Partners are verbally strong, mentally active, and sometimes confrontational, teaching conscious communication. Midheaven in Gemini. Career thrives in media, sales, marketing, activism, technology, journalism, and teaching. Anywhere words move people. Imuguel in Gemini. Home is mentally active, noisy, stimulating, or constantly changing. Early life often involved debates or movement. Lot of fortune in Gemini comes through quick decisions, verbal courage, business deals, media exposure, and intellectual initiative. The third decan of Gemini is ruled by Sun. Here, Gemini becomes visible, confident, expressive, and performative. The Sun gives spotlight energy. This is the presenter, influencer, leader through words. The main traits are charismatic speaker, needs to be heard and seen, strong identity built through ideas, creative communicator. They should learn how to shine without overpowering others and not turning communication into ego validation. Let's see how the planets are working in the third decan of Gemini that is ruled by Sun between 20 degrees and 30 degrees. Sun in Gemini. The Sun expresses identity through visibility, voice, and personal influence in the world of ideas. These natives are born communicators with a strong need to be seen, heard, and recognized for their intelligence. Leadership comes through teaching, media, performance, speaking, or social influence. Confidence grows when their ideas inspire others. The lesson here is to develop consistency and avoid burning out through overexposure. Mercury in Gemini shines brightly here with clarity, charisma, and expressive power. The mind is sharp, fast, and highly aware of how to shape messages for impact. These placements favors writers, speakers, influencers, teachers, and strategists. Words carry authority. The challenge is learning when not to talk. Moon in Gemini. The moon seeks emotional validation through attention and expression. Feelings are tied to recognition, appreciation, and being mentally engaged with others. Emotional needs fluctuate quickly and require stimulation, feedback, and interaction. Venus in Gemini brings social charm, popularity, and verbal magnetism. Love thrives through admiration, playful romance, and shared ideas. Attraction is strongly linked to intelligence and confidence. Relationships often form in social or public environments. Mars in Gemini drives bold speech, competitive dialogue, and assertive opinions. There is courage in debate and confrontation. Through words, action is fast, reactive, and mentally driven. Jupiter in Gemini expands public influence, teaching ability, and persuasive power. These natives often become visible thinkers, mentors, or communicators with wide reach. Overconfidence in opinions should be balanced with listening. Saturn in Gemini. Saturn demands authority through responsibility of speech. Life teaches that words have consequences. Mastery comes through intellectual discipline, long-term study, and ethical communication. Uranus in Gemini creates sudden fame, viral ideas, and disruptive messages. The mind is electric, futuristic, and ahead of its time. Neptune in Gemini adds inspiration, glamour, and illusion to communication. This can produce artists, storytellers, or spiritual teachers, but also misinformation if clarity is lost. Pluto in Gemini brings extreme mental power and influence through media, words, and information. This is the Decan of psychological communicators and opinion shapers. Lunar nodes in Gemini. North Node in Gemini pushes toward sharing knowledge and staying curious, away from Sagittarius-style rigid beliefs. Ascendant in Gemini is radiant communicator, public-facing personality. The ascendant in Gemini is a partner's mirror, intellect, and voice. Midheaven in Gemini, career in media, education, tech, or public speaking. Imum Coeli in Gemini, home shaped by learning and movement. Lot of Fortune in Gemini, success through visibility, media, and ideas. So now look in your natal chart and see where do you have Gemini, in which house, and if you have planets or points there. And then you see where in which decan planets in Gemini. And I'm waiting your comments and questions down below. Until next time, try to listen also, not only to speak. So, bye-bye.